Late Night Conversations with Patricia Ntuli, Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. till midnight.
We've got our topic for the Closet Conversations family focus at this time, and we are looking at how can men become better fathers or better dads. Remember, not everyone at this point is already a dad, but there's other people who are dads or are dads to be, and they're excited, but there is a difference, and we want to know what the difference is and how can we support our men to become better fathers, to become better dads. On the line, I've got Bongs Ndima from Bongs Ndima Foundation. Bongs, good evening. How are you?
How are you?
I'm excellent, thanks, Bongs. It's the second time you and I are speaking, so I'm excited to have you on the show again.
No, thanks for having me again.
Excellent. And then from the founder of the Cool Dads Foundation, we've got Bongani Luvalo. Bongani, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ntuli, and good evening to your listeners.
I love the name of your foundation, the Cool Dads. Ooh, I think everyone wants to have a cool dad, right?
I think so, definitely.
Cool Dads. Actually, I was not even a father when we started the foundation. It was in 2012. I only became a dad in 2014. But basically, I've grown without a father, and many of my peers, the friends I have in my circles, either their fathers were there physically, but they were not there emotionally. I've never connected with them. They would never know how they feel. You know, they will never be asked, how was your day? But they would only know a relationship with the father when they've got to be reprimanded. And there were those of us who never even had that father figure in the household. Literally, you are raised by, I was raised by my mother, my grandmother, so I've always been surrounded by, women. And I've seen that this keeps on, growing from one generation to another. And we said, do we really want our children to experience the very same phenomenon? And we agreed with a couple of friends that can we start spending time with our kids? It started literally as, let's meet on a Saturday, let's have a picnic, boys will bring their cars and their kids and we'll just chill. And I think through conversation we then realized that there are more issues than we thought.
That is an audio from Bongani Luvalo, who is the founder of the Cool Dads Foundation. I'd like to remind everyone that you are more than welcome, and in fact, I'd love to hear from you. Are you a mother, a single mother, or a mother that's co-parenting, or a mother that's gone through a divorce, or you are a father, or you are a mother or father who's grown up without their biological father in their lives, and how has this impacted you? We want to find solutions and ways to make sure that we get these cool dads, or we get these men to become good dads or good fathers. Please call us in. The WhatsApp number is 0614104107, or you can call in on 0891 104207. You can also call in on 0117144045, SMS 41391. Bongani, the founder of the Cool Dads Foundation, talk to us about your foundation. We hear on your audio clip that you started it before you were even a father.
Yes. I think I was aggrieved or concerned, I think, by the parenting culture in more the black community. I grew up in a township, most dominantly black community, and you would start taking notice of who has a father, who doesn't have a father, what are the conversations amongst us as kids, whether in primary school or high school, but also becoming a young adult, what then becomes the conversation amongst us as peers, as young, adults between the ages of 21 and 24, just started working, others have got kids, others are still aspiring to have kids. What then becomes the conversation? And I couldn't help myself but notice that in many instances, we only pride ourselves with the provision of financial support, more than having to be physically there, and the notion of having to be babysitting your own child. Or doing something because of you just want to comply for the sake of peace with your partner or the mother of your child. And what made me wonder a number of times when I was in high school, when my peers would talk about how what they did with their fathers over the weekend, the conversations they're having with their fathers, or their fathers are teaching them whether riding a bicycle or kicking a ball or going to the stadium. In the black community, going to a stadium was such a big thing. So some of these things made me to wonder as I grew up, and I said, what could be the underlying issue for us to perceive fatherhood and parenthood as a passive, activity in our lives rather than being a parent, That's when I then engaged some of my peers to understand what is really happening. And most of them would say, I had a father in the house, but my father was just a disciplinarian, The only time I related with my father was if I had done something wrong and my mother wanted me to be disciplined, or I had to come and ask for money for a school trip or soccer boots or this or that. So it then said that whether you had your father in the house or not in the house, or whether you knew him or didn't know him, it had some kind of an impact to a young child psychologically. So I think for me that fascinated me or worried me or both. And hence I then had to say, let's create an environment where as peers we can really try and dissect what is really happening. That's when we then had our first picnic in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. And while people came with kids, I didn't have a child. I brought my youngest brother. But we then had a session where people were playing. But we also had a session where, as boys, as young men, we would talk about the journey of fatherhood, and others came, they had planned to come with their kids, but unfortunately when they arrived in the morning, they would be like, unfortunately I couldn't get access to my child. With an agreement with the mother of my child that I'll come and pick up the child. But when I arrived, I was told stories that the child went to the aunt, was taken to the aunt, and these are because of the squabbles we have. Others would say, I'm not sure if I'm going to last for 2 hours. Then we said, but what makes us to have difficulty in being parents more than just being fathers? Because when you're a parent, you've got no boundary of the roles that you can take. You need to change a nappy, you will change a nappy. If you must make a bottle, you will make a bottle. If you must prepare lunch or supper for kids, you would do it. If you need to wash clothes for your kids. So society has created those two boundaries where there is a distinction of what is motherhood and what is fatherhood.
Bongs, Bongane, let's give Bongs an opportunity to introduce himself, sure. Because now we have an understanding of what your organization does, and then we'll get into some of the things that we need to work at to ensure that men sure. become good fathers or good dads. And Bongane, Bongs Ndima. Yeah, both of you have the same name. It's just one is Bongs, one is Bongane. Guys are confused with this Zulu girl. So let me speak to Bongs Ndima. Bongs, tell us about your foundation, the Bongs Ndima Foundation, and why you started it.
Okay, Bongs Ndima Foundation basically was established to support men. We wanted to create a safe space or a sacred space for men to actually be able to open up about their difficulties in life. We know that men, most of us are actually coming up from the whole patriarchate upbringing, where a man is supposed to be strong, a man is supposed to be the provider, a man is supposed to be a pillar of the family. And half of the time, actually 90% of the time, most of us are just like functioning under pressure. And most of us were actually not groomed, like Kubongan was saying. Most of us, we had the fathers that were there, but then they were never really present. So that has actually caused some distance to most people. They're just floating, and because no one is telling you on how to navigate in life, then you found yourself a bit lost. And so with the foundation, we just wanted to create a space where people can actually come to us and have support, whether it's emotional or spiritual, whatever the case might be, just to help them navigate better in life and maybe even become better dads as well.
I'd like to invite everyone who's listening in to please call us on 0891 104 207 or 0117144045. We are talking to two men who run their own successful foundations for men. The one is the Cool Dads Foundation by Bongane Luvalo, and then Bongs Ndima has the Bongs Ndima Foundation. We are talking, how can men become better fathers or dads? Now, gentlemen, this topic is going to be a difficult one one, and I'm talking to you, Bongs and Bongani, because a lot of us as South Africans, especially black South Africans, have had the pain of growing up without our biological fathers or even any father figure. And I speak from experience here. And the first question I'd like to ask, because both of you are fathers, what causes a man who is sure these are my kids, I know this is my child, I know, and this child even looks like me, at some point I raise this child, and the moment I break up with this child's mother or we go through a divorce, then I turn my back on the child, I forget about the child. What causes this? And I'm going to start with you, Bongs, from Bongs Ndima Foundation, because you deal with some of the psychological issues of men. What causes this? Because, and yes, maybe I'm sounding a bit emotional, but it's because it hits home. It's not just with my case, but with a lot of other people. It hits home. Once a majority of men who break up with their woman via divorce or just no longer together in a relationship, they turn their backs on the children. So what's the psychological reason for this?
It's such a sad pattern, Patricia, because the thing is that most people, they feel like, okay, if we are in a relationship, then we are in this together. Okay, fine. Then things go south, right? And I think, again, I'll go and say this is a societal issue. Our patriarchal upbringing has taught us that a woman is natural. A woman is supposed to basically raise the kids. You, as a father, you're supposed to be a provider and just be there to let me just say, to emphasize or put authority in the space. So yes, then we get to a point where we're supposed to separate, or unfortunately we do separate. So then what happens that always, even our customary law, it always supports the woman than a man to actually raise the kids, because apparently men, they don't have a clue when it comes to raising kids, it's another pattern that we're supposed to, as a new generation of fathers and men and dads and upcoming wannabe fathers, we need to break that pattern that we are incapable of actually raising kids. Because I don't think, yes, women are born natural, and they're actually fortunate enough that they actually get taught from a young age, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you need to do that. Most of us, this disconnection, I think it's coming from our fathers and our forefathers who were just there as, I think it's part of the furniture, so to speak.
So you know, when everything you're saying, I'm still waiting for my answer. Why? When you break up with the mother of your children, you walk away. What causes this? What have men who come to your foundation been saying?
I don't wanna say as like said stuff, but then the truth is, I feel like most men, they actually are forced or put in that position by women.
How so?
Women usually have this tendency that when we break up, okay, I'm hurt, right? You are gonna go now and find someone better than me, and you're leaving me with this kid. So for me to punish you, I'm going to infringe your rights to have access to that kid. And that's a sad part, because most guys, they actually really want to be part of the kids' learning and everything. But then they just find themselves that, okay, the only thing that I'm supposed to do basically here is pay maintenance. But then I don't even have access to the kid that I'm paying for. So most of them, they actually end up paying. Yes, there's also the rotting potatoes as well in the back, who actually just decides to run away, don't pay maintenance, and not do anything. Personally, I feel like that person doesn't deserve to have access to a kid anyway. But then there's good ones who actually want to be there, who want to be present, but then because the lady or the woman that they were actually involved with is still bitter with the breakup, then they will try and punish them by actually withholding access to the kid.
Okay, Bongs, I hear you. I'm glad you made reference to the rotten potatoes and the innocent. You make them sound like victims. I don't know, but it sounds like they're being victimized not to have access to their children. So, to help us, let's go to Bongani.
Sure. No, because I'm still not sure what she disagrees on. What is you disagreeing about on what me and Bongs have said? Because there's nothing contrary that we have said. I was raised by, men in society, but not my father. my father was absent. But I've had teachers, I've had priests in the church space, uncles there and there. But the essence is that in the absence of a father, that close proximity is quite different, And the second part is when we separate, take note of what he has done. He chose to take the comfort of his relationship with a new partner and sacrifice his kids. And the question you were asking earlier on, why do men do this? I think for me it's 2, if not 3 reasons. One, you have a Bongane who simply says, I don't want anything to do with my previous relationship and the kids in that house. Mantuli, so born, you will see to finish with this, which is a selfish reason.
Bongane, I'm glad Bongane, you and I think we should be seeing each other face to face. I'm glad you are saying that because you are calling a spade a spade.
So that would be the first first father who would walk out of a relationship. But 2, there's a second thing that happens in society, and I can attribute this to a black community because of this research that supports this, that we tend to be punitive towards each other as partners who are now separating. If I'm not going to be punitive, because the same act as well, it's a man deciding to be punitive towards you as the partner or the ex-partner and the kids. But the second reason would be that as a father and a mother, when we separate, we want to prove to each other that I can make your life miserable. So it can be you, Mantuli, who says, if you have failed to love, if you have failed to show me love, then you do not have the capacity to actually even show your kids love.
True.
So it's better that you walk away, and we do not want anything to do with you. And I think one of your previous colleagues, I think she passed on, when we were having this conversation, one woman called from Free State and said, my husband cries every night. We have moved to Free State. She has a child in Johannesburg. We want access to the child. We pay maintenance. But the mother of the child does not want anything to do with the father. And now is denying us access to the child. And this man kills him every day. So you've got these men who want to have access to their kids. But whether it's cultural reasons or it's you as the mother of the child deciding to be punitive, and to a certain extent, somebody else will ask, why don't you fight? For your kids, which is a principle I always say to anyone who approaches the foundation. Hence, at some point in time, we try to have a law clinic that would assist men to fight for the access to their own kids.
Yes.
Because to a certain extent, there are those who say, I don't think I want to go through this. Because of many times than not, the system will always be against the men. And we can't be hard on the system because of many times than not, we have seen men who do not want to maintain kids. And the court would try and protect a child, but the boundary has been extended where now you're trying to protect a woman at the cost of a man accessing his own child.
Bongane, the example you've made, right, for me, sometimes you find examples of men who have fathered children and disappear. So this man has disappeared for 6 months. You don't know where he's been. He's not maintained a child. And he's actually forgotten about his role and responsibility of being a father to these children. 6 months is even sometimes short. I mean, I've heard examples of men who've disappeared after divorce for years. And then he comes back out of the blue. How do you then trust a person you have not seen for 6 months to just give them full access to your children? Let me allow Tobeka to say something. Tobeka, very good evening and thank you for holding. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, Patricia, and hello to your guests.
Hi, Tobeka. Hi.
Yes, I've got a question, actually both of them. I'll just try and give a snippet of my situation. I think the main interest here, a person that needs to be protected in these situations are the kids. Now, I find myself in a situation where, obviously, I raise my child by myself and I have my own challenges, but I see to my child financially, you name it, everything. And you'd want the child knows of their father. And for the longest time, I protected my child, even from myself introducing him to other men, because I want to raise him a certain way. But now, when you have the father, maybe he'll see your child maybe on a picture or somewhere and will parade this child as his own if the person does not know what his child wears. And then you try and say, okay, let me try and make this relationship, because he's not forthcoming. He just doesn't want to be part of the child's life, or parade the child as his own. But when you try and introduce a relationship between, okay, I act as a bridge between himself and his child, the man does not have a good influence on the child. Like, he's not an example. A person is going to speak to a child always drunk. So is it wrong for me now to protect my child from such a person? If the person has nothing, if the person is going to be talking to the child using fair words, and that's not how I raise my son. But then also, how do I navigate that? My child needs a father and knows their father, but now I can't allow the father to have full access because of the way and the life the father lives. What do I do there?
Thobeka, thank you very much for your question, and this is a very serious issue. I think, let me allow perhaps Bongsa to come in there. How does Thobeka then, or anyone in a similar situation, navigate around wanting your child to have access to their father, but you know the behavior of this particular father is unbecoming? You know he's probably a man who's, just has bad habits, and you obviously want to protect your child. How do you then marry the two?
It's a very critical area to navigate on. I would just say, okay, kids nowadays, they're not like us. They're very smart. And I think as a parent, the only thing that you can do, don't try and badmouth the other parent, right? Just lay down the facts, stuff that they can actually see as they are transparent. Okay, the only reason why probably I don't want you to go and see your dad or your mom is because of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. Don't tell them how they treated you in a previous relationship or what went down where, whatever. Give them the stuff that they can actually see and actually make their own decisions. And then obviously, if maybe you feel like the kid is really on the path of probably suffering psychologically, because if the father is using swear words and all that is abuse, that is verbal abuse. It might not probably be directed to the kid, but then the kid is also affected in the same space. So, there are other laws that you can actually follow and regulations that you can actually put in place to actually eliminate or hinder or sort of protect the kid from actually that parent having access to them.
We are talking about how men can become better dads. These are the Closet Conversations, and my guests today are Bongani Luvalo, who's the founder of the Cool Dads Foundation, alongside to Bongs Ndima of Bongs Ndima Foundation. Let me go to my WhatsApps. Remember, you can WhatsApp us on 0614104107 or call us on 0891104207. Now, this particular WhatsApp is from Reverend Emil John Stanley, who says, what a good topic. Growing up without a father is not easy. I concur with you, Reverend. You always long for that father figure, someone you can look up to. Most of us end up fathering the boy inside of us. We need to take responsibility to father the boys in our communities.